Alrighty, ready. Hello everyone, and sorry I haven't been placing out videos or anything, with all these updates on the campaign mechanics that they've been releasing. I've been a little, busy with other things, with life related, and I basically like couldn't take a look at everything and make a video about it. And it was a little bit right after Tzentch got released as campaign mechanics that I kind of got really mad at see it. We'll get to it in this video with the stream, I should say, of why I had a problem with Tzentch compared to Cathay. But it's looking like Cathay is just been wrong. And this video is about carrots and sticks. And CA needs to learn when they are showing too much carrot instead of enough of the stick. They need to find a balance. Because right now, I can only say that we have here for a lot, couple of the, like so far all 3 out of the 4 factions, straight up, we do not have any sticks really for them. So let's get into it actually. Hello, and so I'm gonna have to start it up because I'm gonna separate these in videos. So yeah. Hello and welcome. We are going to be talking about Khorne's campaign mechanics. And this is probably going to be the first video for talking about a series I'm going to call actually it's going to be called Carrot and Sticks, might be. Carrot and Sticks. So yeah, we're going to make a video called series called Carrot and Sticks, and talking about what carrots are we shown in these campaign mechanics and what sticks they are given. The sticks are bad, the carrots are good, just so you know and are aware. So let's get into it. Alright, Khorne's campaign mechanics. Skulls and the Skull Throne. So, I've read this already, and it's straight up, skulls are just... Wait, hold on a second. Such an importance of Khorne, his most beloved body part is skulls from Khorne currency. Blah blah blah. I'm looking. Wait a minute. I read this before and I swore they were meaning skulls were the economy for Khorne. But that might not be the case? No, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah. Skulls are used for a couple things, but the Delius is piling on the Skull Throne whenever... So, the thing with skulls is that, first off, you can generate them from basically anything else that you could have earned money from. So basically it's the alternative to money, but this is also used as Khorne's main function. So skull piles though are basically... Alright, let's sorry, I'm like a little nervous here. I'm just like trying to figure this out. Let's actually restart that, shall we? We're on stream, it doesn't matter. Alright, straight up. Okay. Hello everyone and welcome to Khorne's campaign mechanics. We are going to be making a series called Carrot and Sticks. It's going to be the first episode. And for Carrot and Sticks, we are going to talk about carrots, which are good things for each race, and the sticks are the negatives for each race. So let's get into it. Skulls and the Skull Throne. So basically skulls are the replacement for money. And the replacement for money, you can earn them from battle sieges, post-battle decisions, dilemmas, basically everything like money. But here's one change from money. There will be skull piles where it will be spawned by everyone in the world. They are spawned by enemy armies doing battle, and they're spawned by you doing battle. So we can collect the proceeds and like get more money. So what does this mean? Is basically it looking like Khorne's economy is going to be based off of doing battles, which makes sense. Only problem in this is going to be recruiting armies, but I feel like they fix that later on. So let's continue on with the skull stuff. Skulls are used for a couple things. Building the skull throne, which they don't tell us. That's not actually a mechanic in here. It's just a turn of phrase, tongue in cheek a little bit. Just basically, this means nothing. This is flavor text. Whenever a large stockpile has been collected, it is expected, nay, demanded that it be lain at the feet of Khorne, such that he may pile the skull throne in iron. I'm not sure what this means exactly. We may have to give him. We might get a dilemma where we pay him, or we can scorn Khorne. Don't know what that means. It's dependent, but we are shown that we get a big carrot. This isn't a stick at all. Like if we probably choose to don't give him the pile, then we probably get nothing. But us doing it, we get a massive set of buffs, including bonuses to post-battle loot and movement range bonus after raising settlements. Meaning that's either a choice after the battle that we give some to Khorne or whatever, or it's actually when we pick up a stockpile. Don't know, but this doesn't sound like a stick at all. This sounds like a big old carrot. This is not a big old carrot, but like a good carrot. So continuously fire and destroy. If Khorne must occupy a settlement, it will be a significant cost to skulls as the place will be properly adorned. Meaning, it's gonna cost you a lot of skulls to fight or to occupy a settlement. Now, I don't know if this is a ruin, occupy a ruin, or if that's occupy an actual settlement, and it just means we forego the skulls. That's the problem with CA in this. They really like to flavor text a lot of things, which this could be flavor text, or it could be actually it's going to cost us to settle no matter what. So that's the thing to keep in mind when we actually see Khorne. Sacking and raising are options 90%, are better options 90% of the time. Sacking. Looks like everyone's gonna Khorne is be a sacking race. He's gonna sack a lot. He's not gonna earn a lot of skulls. Maybe he is. Who knows? But raising probably isn't your best option. But raising is a pretty good option later on when we see another mechanic. So, okay. Here's the thing. Sorry, music a little bit. Lower it a little. I don't feel like I need to yell. Alright, so first off, okay. What is the stick? in this function. Some would say it's that your currency is the same as later on, like using it for research. You're gonna have to use skulls for research. You're gonna have to use it to build buildings, and yada yada yada. And these bonuses here, you're gonna have to give some function of them. Khorne's throne, skull throne. Yeah, but I don't see it as a problem. The only stick here is his roster. His roster is filled with a lot of melee boys. He doesn't have any range except for pretty much this boy, Vulcan. And he has no magic. So that's his stick, is that Khorne is actually fairly balanced with the mechanics, and his units, you will see with the mechanics, is a lot of carrots, while his sticks are range units and magic. So we'll see like how these guys actually play, like all these guys, and figure out like how Khorne works. Khorne might be an auto-resolve stack, just constantly auto-resolve. Maybe the skull mechanic isn't that bad, because it'll generate from buildings, and we don't know. So the cost of this is the only big cost. The problem here is occupying settlements. If that is just eating a settlement and being in garrison and taking it over causes him to pay for a settlement as if he was settling a ruin, then yeah, that's gonna be a slight problem. But that gets fixed later. We'll see. Blood calls. Oh, when Khorne forces overruns the garrison, the settlements do. Luckily, quick blah blah blah. That's just all. Flavor tax. New options are available for Khorne forces raising a settlement. Skulls for the Skull Throne generates 1,000 skulls for your purposes, which might lead to this being flavor tax, or no, not that. This might be flavor tax, and might just be when you do a stockpile. To get 1,000 for raising a settlement, or destroying the settlement, killing people. But that's part of those 1,000 skulls for the Skull Throne. Then the second option is Blood for the Blood God. Greatly replenishes your forces, meaning if you lost like 90% of your army, this is probably a choice to pick. And then also spawns a new Blood Host army. Now, this is an AI army that you cannot control. It acts like the old Wa and Peace Tribe armies, where you give them a target and they go off on their own, or they just go off on their own, cannot replenish or whatever. But they cost no upkeep, which sounds really good, and it just gets better. The power of these armies scale with how many you have created, though number of the units spawned with can be increased through various means. Meaning there is probably technologies here to make these guys better, which I would probably suggest doing. As you can imagine, this army wanders off and raises settlements, spawning another army. So these guys can actually snowball. If they blow up a settlement, they can make another army, and then those two can go and attack more places. And literally, this could spiral out of control. Here's the interesting. These guys spawn with their full movement, so they get to go immediately. they will generate skulls from suicide battles, and if I remember correctly, they give you experience too. I've read somewhere where they give you experience if they die. Oh, I read something. I swore I saw. Maybe it's in Bloodletting. Anyways, here's the feature that I'm like not too worried about: colonization. We're doubling the power of the army is passive colonization. Should Khorne, a Hornet faction, should Khorne have a settlement in a province it shares with raised settlements, the settlements will eventually be automatically colonized at no cost by that faction. Or those can be blood, that's what blood letters are. We'll read blood letters like this like right here, this paragraph clearly takes this stick of significant cost of skulls to occupy a settlement and just throws it into the literally the stick becomes a carrot. Yeah, it costs you a significant amount of skulls, but if a province has 4 settlements, usually has 3, that means if it costs at least 1,000 skulls, as long as it has 1 other settlement, you can raise that settlement and you get all of your skulls back. Meaning you lost skulls, and you will occupy that other settlement from. So compensate, really compensate. Okay, bloodletting. Foreign slaughter, fine sustains them as milk and bread, blah blah blah. So it's basically saying, okay, here, if you keep on fighting, you will gain replenishment and growth faction wide. But if they stop, they lower replenishment and lower growth faction wide, as well as less lust for battle from the army itself. Probably meaning some bonuses you get there, some hidden bonuses. So, is this a stick? No. If you're doing where is it? Sacking a city. If you have a sack city, there's no problem here. And when we get to Tzentch, I'll bring this up, but it's seeming like Khorne, depending on how this bloodletting works, it might be where you would want a back pocket sack city, where you just sack a city over and over and over and over and over again, or have like one situated if you're not trying to expand. So as long as there's keep on being battle, you get better. For every army that you have rampaging across the land, it will impact your growth rate, replenishment, global times, and more. As you can imagine, having a number of blood host armies, I'm guessing that's the regular armies, or the blood for the blood god, or yeah, blood host army. That's the AI army. All increasing your growth rate along with your main, more powerful army is extremely powerful. With the amount of death and destruction handed out by Khorne faction on a regular basis, they can exist at a negative favor gain if needed, given the constant influx from battle's fault. So, I just want to point out there's a strategy for Warriors of Chaos and Norska where you, and I think maybe Pre-Med, where you live at a deficit. You're always negative money, but you're doing so many battles that you offset. Might not be too much for Khorne to be able to do that, but sounding like straight up we will have, like, this is what they like. I mean, I want to put Pat's Khorne. We always attack. Alright. Unholy manifestations and cults. Okay. Khorne's unholy manifestations are kind of crazy. Because 15 turn cooldown summons a small hostile army that will attack. Sorry, will attack the target army immediately. That's internal war. You get that right off the bat, and that's 15 turn cooldown. That is pretty good. So this doesn't matter too much. We would actually, I should talk over it. It is working where each god has their own corruption, as said in the Tzentch blog, where there is Khorne, Slash, regular, Nurgle, corruptions, chaos corruption. And if you get a certain amounts, you get these other ones unlocked. So let's look at Call of Battle. Gives an army plus 50% campaign movement range. Now this sounds like just a single buff that has a cooldown, which is good. And we will get to Tzentch where I pressed something that sounded way too good and it sounded like a global buff. This just seems like one. Water Incarnate doubles an army's skull gains from battle for several turns. Place that in your main army. There you go. Sounds pretty good. Doesn't seem that bad. Khorne's Glare disables a friendly army's movement for several turns. At the end, it raises the local settlement automatically and gives it a massive number of skulls. Oh boy. Oh boy. So this is really strong. We don't know yet whether or not, I don't think Khorne can ambush, but we're not totally sure yet because there's some factions that can ambush that. Probably shouldn't, but they can. Who knows? Khorne might be able to ambush, who knows? But that sounds pretty strong. Biggest thing is this. Ah, here it is. This is what it was. Spawns a small Khorne army to attack your own army. Wait, what? 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 You get free experience? I've read this totally different. I thought that was an army attack another army. That's attacking your target army. That's still good. Triggering bloodletting, giving you Skull's favor, and oh wait, nope. Skulls isn't the currency, it is favor. Back to favor. So really, that whole skull thing, carrot, complete carrot. It's complete carrot because you wouldn't get favor otherwise. Favor is the currency. Oh no, that's way too strong. Okay. Sorry, I'm like legitimately skulls aren't. I thought this was balanced, but no, I'm discovering this. So that's good to summon on your main army over and over again, basically. And let's get to their cult building. Hideout, which is the first gen, generates a steady supply of skulls per turn. That seems pretty good. Gives a bonus skulls with every battle fought in the province. Pretty good. Generates a large supply of skulls per turn if a lord of any faction is present. Sounds pretty good. Basically throw a lord nearby and large supply of skulls, or throw it into other factions' territories. Still really good. And an arena destroys cults upon completion, but teleports your faction leader and army to the settlement. So basically, free movement, which is pretty strong. I don't know if there's a cooldown for that, but I don't know. Now, I'll express this again when we talked about Tzentch, but my big problem is, and my big word is big curiosity, is are these cult buildings allowed to be built in your own settlements? Or are they have to be opposite? And we'll get into that a little bit more with Tzentch because the way they worded it is that it acts sort of like, as far as I can tell, acts like Skaven Undercity. Or actually, a better phrase would be the Pirate Cove. Or Vampire Coast, Pirate Cove. They are single building slots, and you can shoot 1 of 4 of them. Which sounds like that. Problem is like, they need to emphasize more on like, can you build this in your own thing, because it's based on where your corruption is strongest. So that's my question. Now let's go to the tech tree real quick. There is 8 sections. Is it? Let's increase it a little bit more. There we go. There's 8 sections of this. There's Pillar of Rage, Pillar of War, and then there's 6 more, as seen by this. And you only need 3 to move on. But also note, these cost skulls. This costs 50 skulls. This box costs 50 skulls, this box costs 100. I'm guessing the third box costs 150, 200, 250, 300, 450, so on and so forth, up all the way to the 1. That's the case, and now knowing that skulls aren't money, no problem. There's 0 problem with this. Are so good without problems. So, literally just saying that Khorne will give, flavor text saying Khorne will not give away his secrets without gaining benefits of the skulls, which is just their way of explaining how to do it. Also, they mention that you can get passive gains of skulls are also available. Though one comes with a diplomatic penalty with all other factions, but calm now. Yeah, like, I don't see a problem here. Diplomacy going down, you're already chaos. And then they go straight into diplomacy. Let's just go straight into diplomacy, because we're going to be talking about this. You get a diplomacy penalty. Gives a fuck. No one gives a care, because you're going to be at war with pretty much everyone. You're chaos. Chaos warriors, Norska, always end up at war with everyone. No one likes them. Dark elves, no one likes them. You always end up at war. So basically it's saying you only can have diplomacy with Skaven, Norskins, Beastmen, Warriors of Chaos, in, and other faction. Tzentch. Now, they kind of allude to Tzentch, saying that Khorne can only talk to Tzentch out of the Chaos gods, because of all this flavor text saying like Tzentch, what more mortal man can resist, blah 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 blah. So it might be Tzentch is one, but here it sounds like Tzentch, so we're probably gonna get -2. Diplomacy debuffs from technologies and decisions. So but this isn't a problem. You raise stuff and then you get diplomacy debuffs. Guess what? Norscan Beastmen and Warriors of Chaos are still gonna probably like you because you're killing. There isn't much here in the ways of sticks. I guess the diplomacy is a little bit of a stick. It allows you not allowed to kill. But it's more of a kit. That's, I guess, a stick. There's not much in the way of sticks in this thing. There's a lot of carrots. The stick is here with the unit. And we will have to see. They are changing legendary difficulty, the higher difficulties, battle difficulties down so that it's not as intense. So we will have to see with those difficulty changes whether or not Khorne ends up being good, or whether or not we're gonna have a bunch of bloodthirsters and heralds, or cultists of Khorne, Blood Reaper, those type of people. We'll see. Alright. Let's now move on to Kislev. Alright. Kislev. Hello and welcome to Kislev's campaign mechanics. I get with the second episode, I guess, of Carrot and Stick. So Kislev again has interesting mechanics, which sound a good amount of carrots and not many sticks. Okay. So let's start off with our main mechanic, Devotion. So Devotion is in-game. Devotion is representation of how well your faction is upholding the ideals of Kislev and how easily it kept the passion of the common people focused on destroying chaos. Meaning, fighting and being chaos, armies of chaos. Or, as they say here, defeating chaos-aligned armies provides some while sacrificing captives post-battle gives another chunk of devotion. Various buildings and decisions can also generate devotion. Gods of Kislev respond to the attentions of other people. Meaning, we go jump over to Khorne's thing, it means chaos aligned means Skaven, Kurska, Beastmen, Warriors of Chaos, and all the chaos gods. Meaning we are sitting on a race, or not a race, a devotion where you shouldn't have a problem. You shouldn't have a problem because this works like a food mechanic. At all. And speaking about my Khorne video, I forgot to mention this, is that skulls also work as a Skaven food mechanic. You will start noticing a trend that it's working like a Skaven food mechanic, or a high elf authority, or Empire's authority. I forget what it's called. Let's just look. Prestige. Prestige. It probably works the same as Prestige or High Elf's stuff, or as Skaven food. Either way, it's a strong mechanic. Skaven food is really strong and good. There's nothing stopping you from just having a sack city. Like, the only one stopping you from having a sack city is usually you yourself. So this function is not a problem. So if you choose to do no sack sitting whatsoever, that's your own choice. Enjoy play. Wow, owl sack it. So it sounds like you get debuffs. Here's the stick with devotion. If your devotion drops down by committing heretical actions or like declaring war on other Kislev factions, it can be spent on buildings or technologies closely aligned to faith, or certain worshiping stuff. So you need to be careful not have it too low, which makes me question: is too low negative, or is that at 0, or is it like the food mechanic where it has certain range? Because if it's like the food mechanic, that's not really a problem, and probably lowering it to 0 probably isn't going to be a big deal. Which also means that you might have a cap, but they don't say you have a cap yet, so who knows. Either way, devotion is mostly a carrot, not a stick. This part is a stick. It's, let's say, a great sword, a stick size of a great sword being wielded by a goblin. It's not gonna hurt. Really not. Not being like wielded by Grimgore. Motherland. And Motherland is just pretty much 4 rituals that you use. We can see it better here with this. Here's the 4 rituals. They cost 140 devotion each, which doesn't sound too bad, because if we look at, this is turn 1, we get 0. And there's a couple of hundred spread out. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's like the food mechanic. But then I look over here, using devotion for supporter actions, 500. This tells me that we get a ton of devotion. Like, we can easily get a ton of devotion. So let's just real quick look at the gods and what they do. Dialect. Increased growth and replenishment rate for faction-wide. That sounds really good. Growth is really good. Thing is to note also, though, you will gain supporters 1 when gaining a character rank. That is a thing to note. That there is an extra thing, because it's not said here. What are the other 3? We do not know. The supporters generated part, because there's obviously a supporters generated part added on that they do not tell us. Daza will increase your income from trade in all buildings. That sounds really good. I mean, with a duration of 10, guessing all these are duration of 10. Yeah, well, you can get both of those. So it sounds really good. Person. Causes attrition to all your enemies in your land and provides a unique army ability that puts a powerful hex on target area. What is this hex? Will determine whether or not this person is really good and worth your devotion. Attrition is also good, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see whether or not that hex. 4. Gives all armies additional melee attack and bestows a unique army ability to massively increase damage potential in effort time. Now, that is dependent. I think this is the weaker one of the 4, where you would want to do this and this. Lilac and Person might be good, we will have to see. Or seems pretty bad unless this damage potential like is massive. But we'll see. Other than that, that's just talking about what they do. Now we'll get to this, which is supporters and spiritual conflict for kids. So basically, if you, depending on which legendary lord you choose, here, if you choose Tarzania Catania or the Supreme Primarch, it will determine whether or not you're the Ice Court or the Supreme Patriarch. Awesome. And we can see the 2 right there. Basically, they do not declare open war against each other, but gaining followers, finding faction integrator, and it basically will give you more gathering followers. So basically, gathering followers will make it so that minor factions will be more likely to go over to your side, where they will better. They will also. It basically is straight up a better empire function, where instead of imperial authority, where you gotta wait, hopefully roll real good on fealty, it is instead based on what you choose to do. So using devotion or using coin. So if you're floating a lot of money, use coin. Probably a lot to get supporters. Or do these invocations and you'll get supporters. Now I'm guessing getting to the end here, you just automatically confederate, and here gives you confederation. You don't, I'm not totally sure. But also, again, they are supporting ogres are the free LC faction as ogres. Because we know the 6 factions that are coming in Warhammer 3 when it releases. So this can be a stick only if you neglect it really hard, but the question is more so how fast does the enemy go compared to you? Because it might be they don't go that fast. Maybe they do, who knows? We'll see. But I got a feeling that if you neglect this, that's your own fault. It's a free function. You get devotion for free for stuff. I don't think this cost is as much considering we look at the tech tree, and a couple of these techs are 100 devotion, meaning your devotion isn't that hard to get. Particularly. Ottomans in the great cities of Kislev. So, what Ottomans are basically governors. So again, looking at Empire, it's the electoral counts. But instead of having set region, it is for every two, says, where is it? It's every 2 provinces you will get, here it is. You get 1 Ottoman per 2 provinces you control. I thought that was further up. So that isn't too bad, and they mention here, like, however, for some reasons, that areas of the world would represent a half dozen settlements more. But they are mentioning, like, Kislev is somewhat unique, and they do mention Helpet, that it could be Helpet counts. So, of course, Helpet counts is a province by itself. But this just tells us, hey, provinces by themselves, easily, you get 2 Ottomans. So, okay, that's not bad. So, say you take Helpet and Skaven Blight, you get Ottoman. Not bad. That's pretty much seems like a carrot. In game, they are special. Ottomans are special lords recruited that can the province that can affect the income, growth control, and corruption of the area. They also have various special effects and can develop as more as the career continues. They do not earn XP like traditional lords, but will face various dilemmas, increase their skill, and then can be drafted as lords to lead armies. In times dire, this has no initial costs as you already control the Ottoman. though they lack the battle-specific random traits of normal lords. They won't be providing their province benefits while they are in the field. If they die, they are gone. A new one will need to be recruited to run the province. So that sounds really good. I just want to check real quick. Warrior, heroes, patriarch. So it's not even in here. They don't even show it here. So we have no ideas what these guys are like, except for that they give us bonuses. They're special. So we'll see how they are. And yeah, I mean, this seems like a good thing. This doesn't seem bad at all. This just seems that we get a bonus. That's a carrot. That's just all carrot. There's no stick here. Stick here is if they die, but if you don't bring them out, they don't die. They no problem. Okay, Ice Court. Ice Court is a carrot. A massive carrot. Why? Okay. The thing is that you, here's the carrot portion. You can summon Frostmane heroes or Ice Witch lords and train them. Train them in the specific trait that you want. Meaning, and it looks like you unlock those with that. Which means, hey, I want this one to have a certain ability. And that will make, unless you roll over and over again. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But basically, you get to choose the special thing, their special traits, which isn't bad. I think you also give them some levels. I don't know. The only stick that you have here is that it takes many more turns for them to get hired because you're molding them. And so you see here it takes 6 turns, and it also takes a couple more turns for them to include it, or the price is discounted. You pay money for this, and then you pay a little discount price again. And yeah, that doesn't sound that bad. If I'm able to throw knowledgeable on them constantly, that's not a bad thing unless they have something else that's good. So really, I'm not seeing a problem here. And also these there might be traits that you only get from the Ice Court. So really, Ice Court isn't really a stick at all. It's a carrot. It's entirely a carrot. I say that there's no stick a part of this because you can choose to not use it. The only time I will say this actually becomes a stick is when it's like a certain trait or knowledgeable or something else that we get, maybe Magic Warrior. If that cannot be picked up by a lord unless they go to the Ice Court, then I will say that is a stick. But as it reads now, it's all carrot. That's all carrot. Now, let's go to the tech tree. Tech tree. It's just a tech tree making sense. Here's a special thing though. You unlocked certain boxes based on whether or not you own Kislev, Prague, and Amgrad, which is interesting. We can see here Kislev, there's that one, but we have the land, which isn't bad. This looks like it's making bears better and making like ice stuff better. So it's really not a problem I'm seeing here, not at all. And these turns aren't bad at all for research. You just need 2 to go to here, then 3 to go to here, and 5 of these go to here. It's not bad. It's not bad. Mean the cities is a stick here, but I think it's not a problem. it's not a problem at all. And it might be just that the 3 cities are, yeah, required to be. Yeah, so the straight up the research is unlocked once you have the city. So honestly, I'm not seeing a problem here at all. It's not a problem. Basically, you probably are choosing the whether or not you be Supreme Patriarch or Xena Kettering at your choice. Also, a thing I realized, it actually is more significant here, as it compared to the Khorne video, and I will express that again. The units, actually, it's not even in the units. The legendary lords, their factions will give special boosts to Kislev's units. So, really, depending on who you choose, this faction just gets better. Now, it depends what buffs they give those lords. It could be where they give her increase for the wizards and less magic cost, blah 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 blah, ice magic, ice magic, ice magic, where Supreme Patriarch Kostlin will get armor. And honestly, armor isn't that big of a deal. It doesn't. Armor is nice, yes, but it's not as important as melee defense. Or he could do charge bonus. We don't know. We legitimately don't know what his special functions are for his faction. But other than that, like the bonuses that they're gonna get from action and the legendary lords is gonna be make this better, make this all better. They probably reduce the cost. Kettering is probably gonna reduce the cost of the ice court. Who knows? Like we are sitting here. This is a lot of carrots. A lot of carrots. There was barely any sticks. And it's not like Khorne where they were off balance by their units. But Kislev's units are actually pretty good. They got magic, they got monstrous units, they got range / melee units. Like a lot of these units are just really good. And I'm not afraid of it. Like this is just making me like, this stuff sounds pretty damn good. Alright. We're done with that. That should be. Okay. Next we're gonna go into Alright. Hello and welcome to Carrot and Stick, where we are going to talk about Tzentch's campaign map. So, this, I'll spoiler warning, Tzentch has a lot of carrots. There are almost no sticks. Like, the goblin with the stick no longer has a stick function. They don't even have a great sword, a stick that's a great sword. There's not even a goblin there to wield the stick. Is how strong this function is. And I've been playing around with it in my head because I want to enjoy Cathay. But there's some functions where Tzentch just completely ignores Cathay. So let's get into it. Grimoires. Grimoires are significantly just straight up food or high elf function or prestige. It's just prestige or any of that. Legitly, it's super easy to get. It won't be a problem. You get it from sacking So this is the second Chaos Lord that we are told that can sack. Meaning, all Chaos Gods can sack. Making Warriors of Chaos even worse because they can't sack. So yeah. He's able to get grimoires from sacking. There is a function later on that I will mention, a way to play his campaign right off the bat. That's really, really good to probably get a lot of grimoires right off the bat. And it's not hard. And then I'll express to how to try to negate that somewhat. Let's move on. Changing of the ways. Okay, here's changing of the ways. Changing of the ways is special abilities that you can spend grimoires on. They go on cooldown, or as CA puts it, each has a reasonable cooldown and costs a chunk of grimoires. Not sure if you all see this. A chunk of grimoires. That's a chunk, essentially. Scaling with the severity and effectiveness of the action. Beyond the first, each requires technology to unlock, some which may be buried fairly deep in the tree. Here's a rundown of what's possible. They say it needs research done, but we are shown that Transfer Settlement is unlocked, along with Reveal Shroud, meaning that these are both probably unlocked off the bat, which I say is a problem. This call is a duration of 5 turns, perform 50 by 50 grimoires, reveals the shroud over the faction's territory. That is not bad, like, for the sake of having it be 50. Now, I'm looking at the tech tree. The tech tree. Let's look at the tech tree real quick. We are shown that we get 100. And I'm guessing this is turn 1, so and there's no way it will get 100 exactly that perfect. Many times. So, we probably get 100 off the bat. And they start off with transfer settlement too. Transfer control and ownership of one settlement to a new faction. This can be your own faction or another. This is broken. This is super strong. I shouldn't say broken. This is super strong, considering it probably is available at the very first turn. If it's available at the very first turn, that's not good. That's very much not good. Because here's the thing, what you do. You beat the first army. You transfer their settlement to you, especially if you are Tzentch and you have multiple settlements in your province. Take one, you transfer settlements of one to your ownership, and then proceed to basically taxate the other settlements in your province. And we'll get to that because they have the same function where your corruption is high, you get a cult. And I'll get to why you would do that. Transfer settlement. Open gates. Open the gates of major settlements with walls for any battle in that settlement in the next few turns. That seems pretty good. Depends. Force Rebellion. Force a Rebellion. Funding an army for owner to contend with. Drag army. The army. Reveal factions. Tensions shows plans of all target faction controls. That sounds really good. Can you tell then, like, where the army's going next turn? You can see the movement lines. That's pretty strong. Reveal Shroud gives complete vision of faction's territory. That's strong. That's pretty damn strong. Halt faction. All characters, so armies and heroes, have their movements halted and disabled for the faction's foul following turn. That's also very good. Give war coordinated a target. Gives a faction a war coordinated target even if they're not your ally. That's alright. That's relying on the AI to do things. But many times when you have a war coordinated target, they don't do it. They take several turns to get over there, and by the time they get over there, you already beat them. Break alliance. Break military or defensive alliance between two factions. This is alright if you want to be up on a smaller faction and they're aligned with, say, Grimgor or somebody. When Grimgor is really big, or when there's an war tide, you can get them. You can go and get them to fight. And then there's force war. Force war between two factions. That is super strong. Like the strength scope, transfer settlement, force war. Reveal shroud. Maybe reveal factions, tensions, track army halt. Blah 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 blah. We don't know. But they need to be more obvious with transfer settlements. Like, where does transfer settlement? We'll find out where transfer settlements, what research you get from it. What the fuck? This is so big. Why is this so big? Anyways. Looking at this, we have Way of Deception. Probably first turn, grab it. Oh, that's why. Way of Deception. Probably grab that first turn. That might unlock something, we don't know. That might lead to teleport, and it might be Fires of Change that also lead to teleport. We don't know because teleport is locked. We need to figure out like why it's locked. We'll find out later. We'll find out when the game is released about teleport. And I'll just go and talk about teleport now. Teleportation. If you go into the tech tree, it costs once of magic reserve power, which we'll get to, but is exceptionally powerful. Not only does this allow crossing of impassable terrain, say mountain range, rivers, patrolled areas, but instantly triggers an ambush battle should you target an enemy army. This is it's a one-shot move and must be readopted next turn if you want to do it. Level of power is locked behind technology. What we saw. So here's the thing. Teleportation. There's two things. Legend of Total War mentioned in one of his videos that Tzentch might have a problem with Grand Cathay's Bastions. I like to refute that because transfer settlement, you got a choice of possibly transfer settlements. If that affects Bastions along with forts, you can just transfer a settlement and you will get it. And you can just walk on through. If that doesn't work, here's the second option. Also transfer settlement. You'll see the area behind the Bastion. Take it, build an army there, and go ham. You're already inside, meet with another army, and you can go ham. Legitly showing that the Bastion is useless. And the third one is straight up our friend, teleportation. Teleportation legitly means you just hop, skip, and jump over the Bastion wall. Just go past Bastion. Who cares about Bastion? Just keep on going. Making Bastions useless against Tzentch. Meaning Grand Cathay pushover Tzentch. because of 3 functions. 3 things I just said. Now, I don't see the campaign being hard, as Tzentch's units will have shields. They'll mention it later. But basically, having a shield is way too strong. If it's not employed correctly, which we don't know how it's employed because they haven't released the unit roster. Instead, they gave us Kislev and Khorne's campaign stuff instead of Tzentch's army. Tzentch is the only one we have not seen his army. Alright. Let's continue on with Winds of Magic Manipulation. Winds of Magic Manipulation, it allows Tzentch to basically increase and reduce provinces' Winds of Magic when he has a settlement in it to increase it in another at will. Basically, he can choose to lower Winds of Magic in one area and raise it in the other. This is straight up a slave mechanic, as I read it. It's just straight up a slave mechanic, meaning he can funnel all of the Winds of Magic into his main city, which with cults we'll get to how, like, with unholy manifestations and cults we'll see how it can get crazy. Alright. The as well aforementioned buffs to his buildings, which will increase buildings. And yeah, this allows armies with multiple spellcasters. That's freaking whatever. Magic reserves, which makes sense. And they mentioned how they changed Winds of Magic and the power reserves in battle, which they will detail soon. They haven't yet, which they say a bunch of stuff soon and then don't say it, so it ends up being interesting. Because the way this reads, it's just the slave economy. Or Tzentch. Alright, we're going, and the reason why for that, I'll just explain it now, is because of campus, the cult. So for cults, the last choice, in a sense, campus, destroys the cult, increases the Winds of Magic here and all adjacent to repertoires. Meaning, slave mechanic. Straight up slave mechanic. Because there's no reason to use this building if it's like how Winds of Magic work right now. Tzentch probably has a different way of doing it where he can legitly get strong. Use it as a slave mechanic. Is how I'm reading this. And we have Sanctuary, which generates grimoires per turn. Respiratory generates more grimoires per turn, but requires high Winds of Magic level. Sanctum generates a decent amount of income, but also requires high Winds of Magic. Yep. Just one more thing, and then we get to the real easy exploit of Grimoire. Grimoires. Or Tzentch. Or not exploit, but cheese. The cheese for great game. Or I should say the unholy manifestations. So here's the great game, is basically talking about how the chaos corruption, basically there's 4 types. Pause the video, don't read this. It's basically there's 5 types of chaos corruption, regular chaos corruption, and 1 for each god. And depending on how much you have, we'll unlock these. So the very first one that Tzentch gets unlocked allows a friendly army to generate a big batch of grimoires over the course of several turns. The army cannot move during this time and must be in enemy territory. Raid. This is a raiding stance. Really strong. Eugenic energies. Requires 1500. Causes a target army to suffer attrition for a turn regardless of situations or immunities. That is strong. Also here, unlike Khorne's, we're not given, here it is. We're not given this page where we can see how things work. So it was very confusing because this sounds like every few turns. And then here it is. Magic Flare. This is the thing that I thought was super broken, but it seems like it'll be on a cooldown. Increases the range and barrier hit points of all units in army. Barrier is a special shield all Tzentch units have. We'll detail this further in the upcoming roster review. So, here's the thing. Barrier sounds really strong. And increases range. I thought this was... I just completely ignored that because this sounds really good. And that sounded like it was not a selected army, it was all armies. But here, with Khorne's thing, it shows that it's just straight up a single army. Which has calmed me down a little bit because this was going to be really strong and was like a gigantic carrot. But ends up being not that big of a carrot. Again, I'm mentioning carrots. Where's the sticks in all this, you might ask, and you may be pointing to grimoires. But no, it's not grimoires. It's like the food mechanics. Skaven don't give a shit about food mechanic. They just freaking go and sexy the shit out of things. Anyways, Night of Madness. Target-friendly army generates Tzentch corruption and control loss in a province, as well as increasing the army's winds of magic power reserve. That sounds really good. You have a friend that isn't in a Tzentch army, and you force them to stand still. Sounds pretty good. So, okay, here's the thing with Tzentch. Tzentch? Okay. The way to play Tzentch, as long as Tzentch's main capital is either a single province with another province right next to it within reach, or it is more than 2 province. Meaning, if it's more than 2 province, what you do, so let's say Tzentch's province is 3 settlements, main settlements, and then 2 others. Do is that you go, if this is a transfer settlements available on first turn, and it's 100, or even if it's 150, a little bit more iffy on 150, you transfer settlement to yourself, 1 settlement to yourself. You beat the main army, you go sack city, the other city that of the race you're at war with. And then you just straight up build another lord and place him into that enemy province, throw this on him, or place him in raiding stands. If this is just straight up an ability that lasts only a certain amount of time, okay, a little bit less important. But if this is just a stance that you get, that's strong. And then what you do is that you generally wait, fill up winds of magic, and you just sit there. And with Tzentch, you ambush with the lesser army behind, and then you just constantly do that over, over, and over, and over, and over, and over again. In Sack City. Just constantly do this. Eventually, you're going to have Tzentch corruption, which means you get a cult. Now, this is where my big question of where are cults allowed into your own cities? If so, that is super strong. saying it's a foreign building slot, so it sounds like, again, it's Vampire Coast. Not again, but like it sounds like Vampire Coast port, ports, undercities, or whatever we can call them. Strong, and you get it for free, and then you just build one of these in. I would almost say the respiratory or grimoires, that you get a ton of grimoires. And you just sack city it. Then it leads to teleportation. They talked about teleportation, which we talked about, and then tech. So I want to get to one thing. Finally, the knowledge is the key to Tzentch. What's the number of ways to increase research rate, including commandments, buildings, and more regular things like heroes' actions. With a dedicated plan, you will blitz through the tech tree and be fielding cheap, effective, and devastating armies earlier than your opponents. That sounds wrong, especially with how short these are, and saying that you just get faster and faster and faster. Oh, buddy, Tzentch is probably gonna go fucking crazy with research rate. Meaning, this isn't a problem. The things that are holding your back are grimoires, probably. Because it allows you to do this stuff, and allows you to do everything else. So, my friend mentioned this when we were first looking at this. Nurgle walked into a room and said, "Who is the fat guy? Who's the fatty?" And we were talking about Tzentch. And, haha, very funny, Nurgle is a very large man. Now, but like, Tzentch's faction is getting so. These are all just carrots. These are gigantic carrots. This is a gigantic carrot. These are good carrots. These are good carrots. This used to be a bigger carrot, but is no longer as big as a carrot, but still a carrot. Because that's free. These are all carrots. These are all very good carrots. Some of these are bigger carrots than the others. This is a slave mechanic that isn't that bad. Carrots. Like, I'm sitting here being like, this is gigantic carrots. And this comes off the back of Grand Cathay, which we will be covering next. I know I already released a video about it, but here's a revised version. Alright, hello and welcome to Grand Cathay's Carrots and Sticks. I almost want to say Sticks and Stones because this feels more like Sticks and Stones. So, I have mentioned before about the stick being a big old greatsword and a goblin wielding it for the other factions. Now for Cathay, it feels more that Grim wields, and we'll get to why. And this is solely based on what CA has given us, and CA needs to work on, needs to tell us these carrots, actually what these carrots are. And we don't have the numbers for this faction, which will make it whether or not it's a carrot or a stick. So, okay, Harmony. Harmony is basically Grimgore right now. I'm just going to get straight to the point. This is Grimgore. Whether or not this ends up being a goblin or Grimgore solely depends on how CA does things. So, first off, Harmony. What is Harmony? Harmony is about the balance between things, the yin and yang, so to speak, of the faction. Now, the well-built, basically, it changes based on okay, here it is. You must keep your faction as a whole in balance, though consider building choices, board picks, and technology. So, here's the thing with this. You need to keep it balanced. Okay, that doesn't seem that bad. Just about everything will nudge the harmony of your faction one way or the other, all tracked by a handy bar at the top of the screen. Should you drift towards one side, it will become cheaper to push back to the center, but your overrepresented buildings will be less effective, and your control of your provinces will drop. Your control of your provinces will drop. By how much, CA? This is very crucial. By how much? Attaining a middle point is the biggest reward, giving significant boosts to all areas of your empire and a unique ability to summon spirits of your ancestors long dead to help out in battle. Alright, that doesn't tell us anything. These boons don't mean nothing. This summon spirits of the ancestors sounds like where is it? Celestial intervention right here. You don't get told how many times these summon spirits are given to us, how they are worked, what they're exactly called. Is it one-time use? Do they decay? Probably decay because they're summoned. Good chance they are. And they basically tell us that maintaining it for extended periods can be challenging even for a couple of turns. So we are given straight up negatives. Buildings are less effective. By how much? Don't know. Estimate, we can guess. And your control of your provinces will drop. That is a bigger concern to me. Because the problem early game is always keeping control of your public order. So, what is this? Sounds very bad. It gets worse as we will go on. But here's the only thing that feels like a carrot in this. Woozing Compass. So, Woozing Compass, basically, you get to choose a path every few turns. You can just read the top right there. It basically tells you this. It harnesses the powers of the winds of magic, blah, 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 blah. Now, these bars will lower and increase. They will lower if you don't have this thing pointing to a single direction. So if I have this pointing to Great Bastion will be going up, while Celestial Lake and Dragon's Empire will go down. They have these passives that will be always active when this bar is filled. Now, these will increase as the bar gets more and more filled. So I'm guessing here we'll go to 5 once you go here, and then maybe 10 here. Control will go to 2, and then 3. Or maybe 4 if we're lucky. This defensive supplies are probably going to go to 1,000, then 15,000. And then probably 8% casualty replenishment, 6% here. But looking at this, I say Celestial Lake again still is the one you want because that income from all buildings plus 5% in Cathay is really good. Plus 40% in magic wins strength chance sounds really good too. Control is also pretty good. Probably not that big of a deal due to the fact that, well, it's going to be more of a big deal, but not that big of a deal because this is probably going to obfuscate it. But this attrition sounds really good and will help you with chaos. This, don't understand why you would even pick it. -2 corruption per region in Cathay, and chance to decrease wisdom magic and strength plus 100%. Don't know why you'll use that, because unless that winds of magic decreasing affects only enemy armies. Now for Great Bastion, local recruitment capacity not useful, defensive supplies not useful, replenishment alright, depends on how Cathay is with replenishment. Celestial intervention, we don't know what that is. That might be the summon spell, we don't know. So we'll see about that. They just talk a little bit more about it, but it literally doesn't change anything. Let's just see Warpstone's Desert. Oh, guarantees lowered winds of magic reserve and gives leadership debuff to enemy armies inside the nation. And that's not useful. I'm sorry, that's not useful. Okay, here's a potential carrot and might be a stick. It's a carrot if it's treated like Vampire Coast's buried treasured mechanic, where it's not needed. You can do it for extra money, but it should not be needed for your economy at all. But the way this last paragraph reads, it sounds like it might need to be used for your economy, because destroying a caravan making it a good way to starve them out, as in Cathay. So basically what you do is that you make a caravan. You do not control the caravan at all. There's a debate between me and my friend who discussed this, whether or not you will play the battles. That is an interesting take, and we'll see when the game comes out. It could be either way. The only thing that you can do to control the caravans is you get various points. You can choose the direction of the caravan will take, with it progressing naturally across the map. You can also, with the Lord, whose caravan has its own Lord, a new Lord type with a unique blue skill tree for increasing the boons of the caravan, extra cargo, more for replenishment, rest stops, etc. They can naturally also take various combat upgrades, depending on what you think they might get up to. Key to this mechanics find safe routes or building caravans that can take punishment of the big wide world, plus making smart decisions out and fight. So you get another lord. You get a special lord just like Kislev does, that is specifically for a certain function. Now, this could be a carrot, or this could be a stick. Because if it's actually important to you having an economy, I call this bad. This should be only good for gaining bonuses, getting friends, over mercenaries, your routes, and money and magical items. That better be the way it's used. Otherwise, I don't think it's good. Great Bastions. So, Great Bastions put another thing in where Legend of Total War says Tzentch will have a problem with the Great Bastion. I don't think Tzentch is immediately going for the Great Bastion, because they're gonna have to have a way for Cathay to have the function where it will fight chaos constantly. Threat to the Great Bastion is tracked through a meter at the top of the screen, which fills as chaos prepares and assaults. Descends if they are defeated. And we get bonuses based on we'll get bonus if we keep it low. What are these bonuses? We don't know, which makes this an unknown carrot, which could be a tiny carrot, and we have to take it as a tiny carrot. It can't be like, oh, the Celestial God Dragon Emperor basically gives you +6 public order. No, we can't say that. He's probably not even going to give us that. So, you got 3 gates. They have a unique building tree and commandments. They are good. These seem good. The Bastions seem like an actual carrot. Until you look at Tzentch and you see that he has teleport and take a settlement for free. And yeah, it's like, what as good as so Bastions cannot be Cathay cannot be fighting Tzentch right off the bat, like the main faction of Tzentch. They can't. They have to be facing AI controlled chaos. Like, of course, the enemy freaking Tzentch is going to be AI controlled chaos, what I'm saying is that it's a rogue army type, maybe with Tzentch forces. The big battles between you and Tzentch. Now we are looking at the Bastion with the max tier 5 build on the main building of it, where it gives us -1 cooldown for the compass. It makes me think compass is 5 turns, possibly, maybe 10 turns. Because we get 3 of these, this will reduce it by 3. Income generated by 400, that's good. Diplomatic relations +2 with Cathay, pretty good. That's all Cathay factions, I'm pretty sure. Defensive supplies 2,500. This thing right here makes me feel like that the defensive supply thing that they say for the compass, completely useless. Don't bother. Growth +50. That's just usual. Doesn't matter. I do like how they changed this around. It looks better. But also here, we get 3 slots, which I have a feeling it's going to be these. You're going to place probably 2 of these. Probably going to be this building, which is probably going to be income. This building, because that's going to be towers. That I'm not totally sure about. This is obviously probably going to be supplies, or maybe our melee defense and a bunch of other stuff bonus. Don't know. We'll see. And then you get 4 other buildings. I'm guessing it's basic military, so it's going to be all the infantry, except for the warriors, which Bastion. And right here we see the thing. Huh. I hope to God it's what I'm thinking right now, how it works. Let's go on to technology real quick. Technology, they just is basically re-explained. It works in harmony, and here we see this. Harmony is in balance. Something put it out of balance. Now, we are getting to the hook, line, and sinker of thing. This being 4 turns to research. I'm guessing up to here is when it stops being 4, and then it ends up being 6, which means that's too many turns of you being offset. Going one way or another. With research alone. That's way too long. I don't think this is a good idea. This is where I am going to bring out saying harmony is a bad idea. Because there's a couple ways they can take this. And one way is my suggestion, which I highly doubt they're doing. The first way is that harmony, it works on a point system, which one point will push it one way or the other. Meaning you hire a lord, that's 1 point. You do finish a research, that's 1 point. You build a certain building, that's another point. So there is a chance of 3 points within 1 turn, making this really, really, really bad. Meaning we could potentially see you all the way down here. At the worst case scenario. Meaning you probably have a major public, or as they will say it, control penalty. And if you are playing on the higher difficulties or any difficulty, this is going to hurt you. On the lower difficulties, not as much, because you can obfuscate it because you're on a lower difficulty. You don't get that difficulty penalty for public order. But at the higher difficulties, that's very bad. That's super bad. Now, this is where I just had the thought. See these... Actually, get a closer look. See these points right here? I think these are 2 points. That's a point, and then it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If so, you can get 3, and then you're already like at that point. Meaning you're offset. But you can reduce it by recruiting a single lord. It's a better function of it. It's not as cruel and mean, and you can obfuscate it, hopefully. And it's not as bad as just being 1 point, which I fear it is, because the Don't explain it. Now, here's my option. It's a 3-point system. That is 3 points. That is 6. That is 9. And for each one, you get a -2 public order. So you get 3 points of yin, and then you get -2 public order. You go to 6 yin or yang, doesn't matter. You get -4 public order, and if you go to 9, you get -6 public order. It increases, and it's a stick, but it's a fair stick because you can go in one turn, finish a research, hire a lord, finish a building, and you go to 3, meaning you only get -2. But in that same turn, as long as you have another province, you can hire another lord and disband them, and then you go down to 2, making it so that you're still in the middle and you're safe. Now, what most likely, why I am afraid of what they're gonna do, and I have to point to Imperial Authority, how the Imperial Authority mechanic works. Well, not how it works, but the benefits it gives. Benefits are significantly tiny. And this is like sort of after the rework. Dwarves had a bad pre-rework version. Dwarves were worse than this with the grudges. Where the penalties were out of control. Where it's just not what I feel like. See, Imperial Authority, 0, stagnant. You get -5 growth right off the bat. That's alright, not a big deal. But why are you penalizing me off at the beginning of the game? That's mean, CA. Now, if you go to -2 or above, you get this penalties, which isn't a good thing. It's minus tax rate, that means I gain less money, I'm getting less growth, then I go to -4, and then I get -2 public order. Now, you may be sitting there being like, oh, it's fine. That doesn't seem too bad. You're sitting here for 14. The only way you can get bonuses for this is that you get a thing that's on a 20-turn cooldown when someone's 10 fealty, and they'll give you Imperial Authority, or you can, what is it called? Federate. Or you pick, you get a random event pop up that can give you Imperial Authority for prestige, or you get what's it called? Sorry, I'm trying to think of this stuff off the top of my head a little bit. You do I think it's a battle. If they get attacked and you win the battle, you get Imperial Authority. Now, that doesn't sound bad, but if they lose a capital, if electoral count is destroyed, you get or you get -4. One for their capitals being gone, and 2, and some more for them being gone. Now this happens even if you confederate them, which I don't agree with. But you can instantly go from 0 all the way to 4 in one turn if you're not careful. Which means you're instantly getting -2 public order, meaning all of your provinces are getting -2 public order. And if you have vampire corruption, which I'm dealt with them pretty much, and it's decreasing, you can get significant penalties for the corruption. See, I'm at 42%, and I still have -8 corruption public order penalty, which is insanity. So, if I was down here, I'd be losing a little bit more public order. Let's find a place that doesn't have it. Let's say Steingart. That'll be at -4. Now with the rework with public order, it's not as big. But yeah, look, I have 32 saving corruption, and I'm at -7 with corruption penalty. This is only going to be worse when we go to Cathay. They're going to get chaos corruption, and they're going to get scathing corruption. As we are told, straight up in the Bastion, where is it? Zhao Ming is dealing with rebel lords and various ratmen, meaning we're dealing with Skaven in Cathay. So we're gonna get two types of corruption coming at us: chaos and Skaven, and it's annoying to get rid of. Unless Cathay has really good buildings for removing corruption. Oh, it shows the compass. Yeah, no, but why would I use this compass bonus -2 anyways? Because it's not as important as growth, economy, and control. This is the problem I have with this. CA needs to be more clear on the carrots here. They are just showing us sticks, except for here. This is somewhat a stick. Stick in itself is that these reduce, and then these passives. Bastions are a carrot, but not that big of a carrot once we look at Tzentch's freaking stuff. What would be a stick for Tzentch ends up being a non-stick when you go finally fight Cathay. The biggest difference here between all three factions is one, all three factions are all four factions. The three factions we are shown, all of them have like sort of like a food mechanic. Meanwhile, Cathay gets this new mechanic, this sort of new mechanic, this new mechanic, and they get bastions, and CA has a natural tendency to think this is balance, where you just constantly get worse, that you get more stick than you get carrot. Now they have been changing, I will say, they have been changing due to how the dwarves rework for grudges. Dwarf reworks are pretty well done, in my opinion. It changed where immediately you would have negatives. This one has positives, this has positives, this is in the middle, this starts to have negatives, and this starts to have negatives. And you see here already, it's the last two go up to max of -3 public order. Yes, they give you other minuses, but it's better. So, legitly, I'm sitting here looking at what they are giving us for Cathay, and the Grimgore is the actual Grimgore is Harmony. It can change into a goblin, but we need numbers for that. We need to play the game for that. But right now, I'm taking it with the worst case scenario possible because we're not told any benefits, but we are told what the negatives are. And this negative of control is significantly important, because that determines whether or not you have to sit home and stay at home, or whether or not you can expand really early game, especially at the higher difficulty. So anyways, that is me on a bunch of Cathay stuff. Like, their armies are good. The only one whose campaign functions are balanced out by their armies is Khorne. I don't know. So yeah, thank you everyone for